5. The lines are locked. 4. Match day is near. 3. The picks are clear. 2. The picks are in. 1. Let the show begin. Game on. It's that time again. Game on. Kicks and picks is back again. Game on. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Game on. The guys are here and ready to go. Game on. Game on. Game on. Game on. The guys are here and ready to go.
Hey, welcome back to the Kicks and Picks podcast. Steve and Nick here with you, but Scotty is going to be out for the next couple weeks, and it's the week of the Merseyside Derby. Not a one he probably wanted to miss out on, but we brought on a special guest who actually fits both derbies. Might as well be part of the Friedkin group. It's Steve Ceruti. This is a big weekend for Steve and the Friedkin group. So, Steve, how you doing today? Welcome back. I think it's been since last season preview since you've been on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on. Always a pleasure. It is very strange. Like I still to like have the same owners own two of my clubs, and they're not even like, it's not even like I'm talking like PSG and somebody else. Like it's like two, like proud clubs, but not the top elite clubs. It is still very strange, but I think they've done a good job. I mean, the new stadium Everton have is awesome, and I know people are a little critical of their Roma management, but I think they've done a good job. So I can't complain so far.
Got to be the only person outside of like a Friedkin employee that roots for both teams. Gotta be.
There actually are. If you go on Reddit, like I'll dabble in both. There actually are a surprising amount of Roma and Everton fans. I have no idea how that happened. I mean, for me, just like the backstory is like I started rooting for Everton because of Tim Howard and Donovan, and I was like, I didn't really know anything. I didn't even know Everton was in Liverpool when I started rooting for them.
Right.
And then Roma was my first European soccer match. I went to see Inter Roma at the Olimpico, and Totti was my guy. I mean, back in the 06 World Cup was basically where and the video game too, that was kind of like the start of it. And I was like, yeah, I'll just root for Roma. Didn't know really anything about them. Didn't realize that they were like, basically the snake bitten club for a lot of their existence. But, the future Steve does not thank past Steve for his picks and what his favorite teams are. But you know what? We settled on the ones we settled on. We got to live with it.
And I are about the same place with Roma right around 2005, 2006 season. I started rooting for them because of Totti and thinking, they're in Rome. They're a big city, big club. They got to win stuff, right? And they duped us with a couple Coppa Italias early on, and then they haven't done much since besides the Conference League. So here we are, still just trying to get back to Champions League.
Yeah, Champions League Europe, though. You won't take that away. You won't sing that.
Listen, you guys have young kids. You have the opportunity to set them on the straight path. You don't have to bring them into that fandom. I was talking with our buddy Jerry Mancini, who's a huge Lazio fan. He just sent me a picture of his kid with like a Lazio jersey on. Not even a year old. I was like, "Don't do this to her.
Doing?
Don't do it to her. Get her a Barcelona kid or something."
Yep. That's when whenever the people come to you like, hey, I'm trying to get into soccer. Like, who should I root for? It's like, man, pick one of the rich clubs. That's like, your life is going to be much more interesting. I guess maybe not Manchester United at this point, but who knows? Maybe it's a buy low candidate. At some point they'll turn it around. But I'm like, yeah, you can't be rooting for. Don't pick like I don't know. Don't pick like Wolves or somebody just to try to be a hipster cool person. Pick one of the big clubs. You'll thank yourself later.
Yeah. Luca, I don't know, Nick. Luca's pretty loyal. He just follows what I do. He's all in on the Eagles already, and
that's working out.
The Eagles worked out.
He's fine.
Won the Super Bowl on his birthday last year, so he's good.
Nice.
But so let's jump right in with Roma. We'll start with them, the Friedkins' first club of the two that they bought. So it's the Rome Derby. Steve and I were talking before we hopped on, like, this Derby's been coming up pretty early in the season, a few times lately. Not ideal to try to get a feel for the teams. Players still getting integrated. Both teams coming off a loss for this one. Roma, a very disappointing loss at home to Torino after back-to-back 1-0 wins. They fell 1-0, so I know I talked about it on the Chiesi Totti podcast. I'm a little worried about where the offense is right now. And the lines reflect, what we typically see in derbies, which is neither team is really favored by much. It's Roma slight, quote-unquote, road favorites at plus 155. Lazio plus 170. Draw line is plus 205. And which makes the draw no bets both playable, too, at minus 105 for Lazio, minus 125 for Roma. And this is tilted toward the under 2.5 at minus 155. If you think there's going to be 3 goals, it's plus 115. But reason for that is because it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I was so excited to talk trash on the pod this week because we woke up on Sunday and Roma had lost 1-0 to Torino. I'm like, oh, this is great. Maybe chirp Steve a little too early in the group text because Lazio came out with absolutely the most pathetic performance you could possibly have against Sassuolo. So to your point, I really don't know where goals are coming from in this game. I mean, minus 155 is obviously ridiculously juiced, but neither team off to a good start. So that's immediately what I'm thinking from a betting standpoint. I think the draw at plus 205 is always kind of live for a game like this, but if you're picking a side, I don't know. I mean, I know you guys get into it, obviously, with how you think Roma has started so far, but I don't know how anybody could be backing Lazio in this game as much as I would love to say a derby match. You know, anything could happen. There's a little bit extra there. They might be able to reset themselves. I just see nothing out of this team right now.
Yeah, I think the only we were talking about this before, and I hate that these derbies are so early in the season. I mean, I guess it's good in a sense that you kind of don't know what either team really is yet. So anything could kind of happen. Anything's on the table. But I still like, I don't know, I like to get like maybe 10 matches underneath and just like have these teams settle down a little bit before you play a match of this magnitude. That was my first instinct too, is like, I just have no idea how you back Lazio here. Like, I think Roma are the better team.
Definitely.
But I, as a Roma fan of however many years, like I wouldn't tell you to bet that like either. You know, I'm not very confident, you know, and the draw, like the number's just not good enough. I don't know. I'm not really like, I do the pod with Paul Carr, and he's kind of in the, like, you know, take draws when it's in like the near 300, the plus 300 territory, not at the plus
Definitely.
200 territory. So, you know, my first instinct was the under as well, because a lot of these are just, you know, like really tight, cagey affairs, and like maybe one mistake kind of settles it. And like, again, if you don't want to pick a side, that's probably it. But you know, if you look at like maybe a 0-0 first half or scoreless first half, something like that, in the under, you know, that's always a decent one, because these teams kind of come out and they're really, especially again early in the season, like really cautious, both coming off a loss. Like, you know, it does feel like in recent history, these two teams have just played not to embarrass themselves in a lot of these matches, and I think you'll probably see that again. Although Gasperini is kind of a psycho, so you never know. Like, he might just come out guns blazing and just not really caring at all. And I would actually respect the hell out of that if he just went for it. But I don't know. These tend to be pretty cagey affairs and pretty low scoring.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. Sorry if I cut you off, Coach. You know, Gasperini, like, the quickest way to endear the fan base to you is to go out and get this win. Leave everything out there on the field. You know, you brought in some new players. He's got his own ideas. You know, he probably felt this way before the injury, but you have to start thinking about life past Dybala if you're Gasperini.
It doesn't even faze me anymore. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's like expected.
You, but
No,
like,
right.
It's
So
it's nice when he's there, but I honestly like the way Sule plays, and honestly Ferguson looks great. Like, I if he's there, it's a bonus, but if not, I honestly don't even really care at this point.
Yeah.
And he could figure it out this game, he's set for the rest of the year. I mean, that, you know, that's what our clubs are. It's you win this game, and yeah, you guys have higher ambition than we do, right? And more of a project, but you win this game and you're set for the rest of the year. So I don't know. I'm with you. Goal scored in both halves, no, at minus 120. That's like my new favorite bet. So like you said, a little scoreless first half, or maybe an early goal. Like, how many times have we seen this fixture where there's like a goal in the 10th minute and then it's the only goal, something like that. So that's something else that jumped out at me.
Yeah, I mean, 7 straight derbies under 2.5 goals. That's why you got that minus 155 there. It's just every time. Roma's unbeaten in the last 3. Lazio hasn't kept a clean sheet in these 3 derbies. I think it was 2 Roma wins and a draw. The last one was a draw last season, 1-1. That's kind of what you get a lot of time. And you do get cards. I know in New York, I generally can't bet card props, but more than 4.5 cards in 9 out of 9. I don't know what it's set at in this one. You're going to get chippy. Red card is always possible, which always throws the game kind of out of whack. I mean, it's like you sit home and watch these matches. Sometimes you just want to like pull your hair out because they do some stupid shit sometimes where you're just like, what are you doing? Right. And you're hurting the team. And then you get like these performances sometimes from certain players like Pellegrini, who probably doesn't even see the field this week because of his situation. He had an amazing free kick one year. He had that back heel another year. Like, you get these goals and then you get these random heroes like Yanga and Biwa, and I'm trying to think who else scored like big goals for Roma. And same for Lazio, right? Guys that you do not expect.
Pedro.
I mean,
the only guy that scores for us.
Yeah. Well, that's the curse of the X, right? That's like, even though he was with Roma for just one, not really good season, you get that. I mean, goal scorer props are really juiced for this one, right? You can get great value here. It's just a matter of who do you pick out to score the goal, right? And that's where it gets tough. Like from a Roma perspective, Matias Soule plus 360 is a huge number.
I got him at plus 400.
Yeah, probably their most dangerous player right now with Dybala injured. Maybe this is the match Ferguson gets his first goal for Roma. He's plus 240. He's got the shortest odds. So it's one of those ones where if you want to take a stab at a goal scorer, it's a good week for it. I'm not saying you're guaranteed to hit any of these guys because it's hard to pick the right guy, especially with the way these two offenses are playing right now and not really producing a lot of goals. But I do tend to lean Roma here. I think Lazio, coming off that loss to Sassuolo, is definitely in worse shape than Roma coming off the loss to Torino, as disappointing as that was. I thought last match, Gasperini toyed too much, Steve. I don't know. With the starting 11 going false 9, I just thought, like, you got 2 wins with Ferguson starting. I was shocked that he didn't get to start again, and they went with that kind of too cute look. And every time Wesley came up the right, there was no one to cross to. Every time he looked up, it's like 3 short guys. I just thought they overthought it, and they looked a little better in the second half, but I think at that point, the heat got to him a little bit. Torino got that goal, and they were able to just pack it in.
Yeah, Dybala's not a striker. Soule's not a striker. Anytime... I mean, I think that's why they were kicking the tires on so many different like guys to come with Ferguson. And it's weird about the like Dovbek. I'm not saying he's incredible, but like I think he gets a little bit too much flack for his first season. I mean, like most guys, especially at Roma, but just in Serie A in general, like strikers struggle in their first season. He still had a decent amount of goals. He looked fine. Like he was a little bit wasteful. He's not really like his back to goal. Like he's not people that expect him to be like Dzeko, and he's not. He did, we're not going to have that again.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think clearly Ferguson is like the guy in Gasperini's eyes, and I don't know if like Dovbek is really going to get back in the mix a ton here. Like I hope he does, because obviously they spent a ton of money on him. But yeah, Ferguson seems like the real deal. Like it's funny. I was talking to some buddies, like maybe even last year. I think it was before he went on loan to West Ham, right? And I was like, I don't get this guy. Like he was just at Brighton, so I think everybody got excited, and it was like all of a sudden it was like, oh, here's $100 million price tag for him. Like, what has he done? He scored like 7 goals. Other than that, like that was like a long time ago when he was like 18 or 17 or something, and he hasn't done anything since. And Brighton, who are like the best talent evaluating team maybe in the world, don't really want him anymore and don't play him. Like, doesn't that say something to you? Then he goes to West Ham and it's a flop. But I mean, everybody kind of flops at West Ham now. So I was like I don't know. I didn't really know what to expect from the Ferguson thing, but it's like one of those, hey, I just trust Gasperini because pretty much every attacking player that comes in, he just turns into, a $50-60 million player. So it was preseason, but he was great in the preseason, and he's looked great so far. It'd be great for him to get that goal, especially in this game. But I think those odds, I don't know, plus 200. I feel like I need something better in a game where I don't even know if there's going to be goals scored. So I like the Soule shout because he's like one of those. He's probably the guy who just out of anything can score a goal. Maybe anyone in this match who's probably the best at that without Dybala on the pitch. So that's a pretty decent shout. But yeah, I think the problem with Roma is I think they don't have enough horses in the attack. Like it's obviously Bailey got hurt. They were going after Sancho for what felt like a month, which was a disaster. I don't know why they even were sniffing up that tree or barking up that tree, but I think it clearly told you that Gasperini doesn't really like his attacking options, and I think that's probably what it's going to be until January if they can bring somebody else in.
Yeah, I think so too. They were clearly intent on getting rid of Dovbik, ready to swap him for Santi Jimenez, who's out of favor at Milan after a short time. And his track record in a big European league is not as good as Dovbik's was in Spain. So that to me wasn't a great one. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. I know the comments from Gasperini weren't great, I think, this week either about his current situation where he's got to kind of work his way back into the lineup. So it's got to be Ferguson starting, especially with Dybala.
So he's not even listed on my odds sheet right now at Hard Rock.
Dovbik?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was listed here.
What do you have, Matt?
Goals are plus
FanDuel
265.
has them plus 200, which is actually the best odds they have, which is I don't even know what to make of that.
I feel like FanDuel used to have the best
too.
goal score odds, and now they're like more. Their odds are a lot shorter than DraftKings lately. I've been playing them more on DraftKings when I want to play goal scorers.
Soule plus 330 on FanDuel. That's not
yeah. So I mean, Hard Rock, which is traditionally the worst when it comes to player prop markets for soccer. I saw Soule at plus 400. I locked it in immediately. I mean, to me, that's at least, $1 worth of value on him, right? He's probably usually going to be around plus 275, plus 300, especially the way he started the year. I think it's a no brainer.
Yeah. I think he's the guy you take a shot on if you take a shot on someone.
Yeah. It's funny when Everton played Roma in the preseason friendly line, we'll get to Everton obviously in a little bit, but I just, a lot of Everton fans and like the subreddits and different places were like, wait, can we get this guy Sule? Like he was incredible in that match. And he's, he had kind of a slow start in Rome, but he is like the real deal. That dude, I think he's also kind of playing out of position. Like I don't even think he fits in Gasperini's system, and still he's like putting up, some pretty great performances. I think, he's the real deal. I love that dude.
Yeah. You know what's going to end up being, though? If there's a goal, it's going to be like Mancini or one of these center backs on a corner kick. That's 10
It'll be like Cristante.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like everybody hates him and he scores a goal in the derby. Yeah.
Cristante plus 800, Mancini plus 1300, like something like that, which you're never going to bet. But,
Yep.
That's who it ends up being. But yeah, I mean, I think we expect a low scoring match, and I'm a Roma fan, so obviously I'm going to ear to the Roma side of things, but I think in terms of a betting perspective too, like if you want to pick a side, the draw no bets are very playable numbers. Like Roma at minus 125 to me is a very solid number. Like I'm with Steve. I don't play draws very often, very, very rarely. I could probably count on one hand how many times I've bet a draw in like the time I've been betting. So I'd look to the draw no bet before I usually look to a draw, especially if the numbers are close to even money.
Definitely. And again, it's Roma. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's reality. There's just nothing from this Lazio side that could make anybody believe they can win this game. And I'm usually all for an underdog in a derby match. I always think that it's a 50-50 match, regardless of, it's 3 weeks in, but regardless of the table situation, regardless of form, like this is the match of the season. Lazio is so predictable. They've been running this same 4-3-3 with the same players for 3 years. Sadi was in, then he was out. Now he's back in. They had a transfer ban over the summer, which I still don't understand why, if we're being honest. We have the cheapest owner in Italy. Somehow he, I don't know, spent too much money. That doesn't make sense to me, but carbon copy of a lineup from a year ago, and it's the same issue game in and game out. If you guys caught any of that Sassuolo match, it's just painful to watch. There's no balls, there's no mentality, there's no imagination with anybody on the field. They try to bring the ball up the wing, they stop, they try to go back to the center to pass out back towards the wing, then cross it into Castellanos, who's like 5'7". It just doesn't work. And I've watched it now for what feels like 90 straight games. It's the easiest formation and tactical setup to defend against. Roma's going to have no problem. Like Gasperini is way too good of a coach to get beaten by this 4-3-3. That's just where my head's at.
And you mentioned like endearing himself to the fan base. One thing that my co-host Jimmy brought up on Sunday when we were recording the Roma podcast is Gasperini hasn't really experienced a derby like this. And I don't know if he lasted long enough at Inter. No. I don't think he did to play the Milan derby. So Atalanta doesn't really have a natural rival. It's Brescia, and the Brescia was only up for, I think, one season when Tonali was there. So he's never experienced, like, I'm sure he has at some point in his career, but like probably the Genoa derby was the last big one he probably managed in for a couple seasons, I guess, when he was at Genoa, because this is a different animal, especially in Rome. Like this is, because these teams don't win a lot of trophies, this tends to be sometimes the biggest match of the season. And it because it's so early in the season, it could really set the tone for the beginning of his tenure and really get Roma going, and it could really be detrimental if it goes really sour on him. Maybe less so with Lazio, because I think the expectations are a little bit lower this year with the transfer ban and things like that. But my expectation for Roma is to compete for a Champions League spot this year. Yeah. Because of the rest of the makeup of the league. Definitely. And if they go and lose this after losing to Torino, it definitely puts a little pressure on Gasperini to turn it around pretty quickly.
The thing I like about Gasperini, though, is like I just don't think, like, we've had so many managers who I think were like impacted negatively from the city and the environment and the media and how just like toxic it could be at times. Like I kind of think he is too crazy to care about any of that and too stubborn to care about any of that, which I think is actually a good thing. That's why I was always like, who could kind of like fix the mental rot that is like the Roma club as a whole. And it transcends captains, managers, ownership. Like it doesn't matter. And like you needed somebody, I think, like him or like Conte was another guy who could just come in and just be bigger almost than that, and just not and be like a big enough name and have a big enough personality to like kind of throw their weight around and not be pushed around by the media. And I think he's that. So that's why I'm like I think there are a lot of people that were expecting a lot. Like there were people talking about Roma for a title challenge this year. I'm like, I see, that's insane to me. Their attack is just not good enough. It just isn't.
Well, I see that now through 3 games, but in my defense, the number on it was outstanding,
That's
which is why I was
fair.
kind of rooting for it. But it just in my mind, before the season started, you had a Juve team that I thought was going to be worse, an Atalanta team is worse, Inter team that I thought was going to be worse with Kivu, a Lazio team that's worse, a Bologna team that's worse, a Fiorentina team that's sideways. So in my mind, there wasn't that huge mountain to climb for Milan. For Roma. I think Milan was the other team that I would put in that category because, once a week upgraded their coach, little continuity there. But through 3 games, like you said, the offense isn't there. So if they can't figure that out quickly, that it was just wishful thinking, and maybe I hyped up coach a little too early for no reason.
I mean, I would snatch your hand off for a top 4 finish. Like I think I still think that would be like a very good achievement. I don't think it would be a failure necessarily if they didn't get there, but the thing is, like, we were talking about this a little off air too, is the Milan playing once a week thing just sucks because it's such an advantage for them. And I don't think they're very good, but I think they have a manager who, obviously knows the league, knows how to get results, and they don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas Roma, unlike a lot of the Serie A teams, like actually take European competition seriously. Right. And like, that's like kind of been to their detriment in the league the last few years, is that they try to win the Europa League or they try to win the Conference League. And like, they're, obviously carrying the flag. I mean, I know Inter have made, 2 of the last 3 Champions League finals, but I think Roma have like one of the highest, if not the highest, coefficient in all of Serie A.
Coefficients,
definitely.
Yeah.
It's funny if you look at like the Europa League coefficients, like it's like Roma and a huge gap, and then like I think it's whatever the next Premier League team is, but so like I would hope they continue to, because I do think they have a good shot to win the Europa League again this year, like just because Gasperini's done it before. I mean they've been to a final and they've got a lot of decent players, and that non-Champions League drop down thing is obviously helpful to the Europa League teams now. So I think they will battle on 2 fronts. So that with the Milan thing, I just think that's going to hurt them. So like if you could, I got to find somewhere, just bet Roma to finish 5th, because that's probably where they'll end up at the end of the season.
Yeah. And maybe the Italian teams will show up in Europe and 5th turns into a Champions League spot like it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the Roma curse too, right? Last year, Roma finishes barely 5th, and Serie A gets 4 spots. Here before they had 5 spots, they finished 6th. It's kind of been like that for us for like 5-6 years now, where we're just a little below where we need to be. Let's jump around a little bit to the rest of Serie A.
Can I just say, before you go into the games, can I just say something that I have to say that I don't want to say? I want Steve's thoughts. Juve look good.
I know, I hate it.
Yildiz is fucking special, man. I know we talk about him a lot. Like, very easily will be a top 5 player in the league by the end of the year, if he's not already, if he keeps this up. I mean, he turns games on his head. And 4 goals, 2 games in a row. I know one's in Champions League, doesn't count, but 3-0 start. That's way better way better than I was expecting out of Juve.
I would agree. I was at the USA Turkey match too, and where he obviously played, and it was a pouring rain, just horrible day in East Hartford, Connecticut. But watching him in person, watching him and Guler in person was like pretty incredible. And like, it was also funny because the stadium was like 75% Turkey fans. And so anytime like he touched the ball, it was like the Backstreet Boys in 1999. Like there's like girls just screaming everywhere. And I'm like, this is so strange. Like this is the most odd. But it was like, I mean, it was like, he's just like an incredible player. I think you're right. Like he probably has the best chance of anyone in the future, of any Serie A player, to probably finish in the top 5-10 in the Ballon d'Or race. Like I think he's got that kind of talent. I remember, what was it? Was it the Euros? He was pretty disappointing in the last Euros, and I was pretty high on him, but he was still pretty young. Like I'm sure it'll be fine, but he's like a joy to watch him. He's like, I know a lot of Juve fans are like upset because they're still upset about letting Dybala go, but like, I think you're gonna have a guy who's kind of the next version of whatever that is.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think from a Roma perspective, or a team that's hoping to compete for top 4, that seeing Juve score like that is concerning. And maybe we didn't think they were going to be a title competitor, but if they're scoring goals, they become very dangerous, especially after taking down Inter. Because we talked about it on the pod a couple times. Like, Inter seems like they've kind of taken a step back, obviously. Definitely. With the manager getting older. So it opens up a little bit of a window for Juve, and maybe they become the main competitor to Napoli. I don't know. We'll see. It's only a couple matches, but. Yeah.
Di Gregorio does not look good. That's the one thing I'll say. He just doesn't look like he's up for a title race.
Well, and like, they're still relying on like Lloyd Kelly at center back. Like, I still think there's big questions like defensively too. Like,
No question.
This isn't your grandfather's Juve team. So like, there's still plenty of time for them to, hit a goal drought and lose some games because their defense is a disaster.
Yeah, not to be lost in that they conceded 7 in those 2 that they scored
Yep.
at the 8. So yeah, that's the other
Right.
side of it, right? It wasn't like they beat Inter 4-1 or Dortmund 4-2 or 4-1 or something. So yeah. I'll go through. You guys could stop me as if you see something in one of these matches you like. We have Lecce Cagliari on Friday. Probably not the biggest barn burner to open the weekend. Bologna Genoa on Saturday, the early Saturday match, 9 a.m. Eastern. Right away jumped out at me. Bologna minus 120 at home.
Yeah.
I know they haven't been great to start the season, but they also started with a loss to Roma, 1-0. And then they came off. Who was the other team that beat them recently? Was it Como or no?
Yep.
Someone beat Como, right? So like not an easy schedule to open the season. And when you get them at home minus 120, I just feel like they're a better team than Genoa. I think that's a solid number on them. I
agree. That was one that jumped out at me. They need points, right? And
Yeah.
Genoa hasn't won a game yet. So Genoa's one of those teams I wasn't high on coming into the year. They're probably about where I think they'll end up. Their roster's a little bit better maybe than I gave them credit for, but Bologna still should be too much for them to handle, especially at home. So minus 120, I'm willing to lay a little bit there to get that. I also think Orsolini anytime at plus 275. I'd love for him to get started.
The one thing I know about you is just your love for him. So he is, I'm not even debating it. He's an excellent player. I think who am I missing? Dan and Doy was the guy who I loved watching last year. I thought that was like an incredible buy for Forest. Actually, like they end up selling what's his name, Langa to Newcastle for like a 65 mil or something.
So
I think they got a better player in Doy actually back in that deal. So yeah, like Bologna not as fun to watch, but like and Italiano was the guy who was like, if Roma didn't get Gasperini, like that'd be a guy I'd certainly want to get on the line to see if he was interested. But you're right, they need points. That's actually not a bad call, getting close to even money at home.
Yeah. The next match is Juve at Verona, the team we were just talking about, and the line that jumped out at me in this one was Juve team total over 1.5 is minus 125 at Verona. I know they're coming off a Champions League match, but Verona is 5 goals conceded in 3 already. So
this is a place where I would take a stab over 2.5 team total plus 250. Just the way that, and until they stop scoring, I don't know. And Hellas to me is one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst.
Mm-hmm. And the good part about that bet too is if they concede, like they're probably going to have to score a boatload of goals because again we're talking on the road defensively. You figure Verona put up a fight. Where you guys at on Vlahovic? He scored. Like I was always a big fan, and I feel like I've got to sort of like eat some crow on that, but I don't want to quit him because I just like God, he's so freaking talented. But like maybe it's the mentality thing. But he keeps creeping his way back and like scoring goals for Juve, so I don't really know what to make of him.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan, just maybe because of Juve fans being obnoxious about him. He's a guy that's going to show up against bottom teams, so like this is a great game for him to come up and score in. Bottom 5, bottom 6, bottom 7 teams, he tends to show up. But listen, I think it's more of a mentality thing with him. He obviously has the skills, he has the build, the makeup. I think this new look Juve is going to do right by him, right? They have a lot of guys with talent on the ball, and maybe bring Jonathan David in, give him a little competition was what he needs. So I don't know. He's off to a great start. Time will tell, right? This is like a make or break season in my mind for him. Is he the guy, or is he the guy that's just going to score 10 goals every year?
Just in time for him to leave on a free too, I think.
Right. I was kind of indifferent on him for a while, but I thought he was better than he performed last year. I was shocked how bad he was. So maybe it's back to where he should be. And like Nick said, maybe the competition helps, right? Maybe it pushes him a little bit. And I think, you could go team total, like you said, Nick, if you go over 1.5, that hits. And then you could put a unit on that. You almost break even if they don't hit the 2.5, because minus 125, this is a match they could definitely score 3 goals in. And like Steve said, they're conceding, so they probably don't keep a clean sheet most likely, and then they need at least 2, possibly 3. So, Nick, I know you brought this one up off the air. The last match on Saturday is Udinese hosting Milan, and you're primed to take a loss for like the 3rd straight season on this bet.
Yeah, listen, Milan struggle with Udinese every single year. I can't explain why. a couple years ago, I'll never forget. It was the first bet we had of the season. That Udinese were getting a ridiculous number to just score a goal against Milan, and they scored in like the first 30 seconds of the game. So like started off the season. I think it was 2 years ago. Started off the year with a bang. Milan, I think, came back and got points out of that game, but I don't know that they've won since. But they're better. Like, I don't know. How do you not beat Udinese? Like, Udinese is off to a hot start, 7 points through 3 games. Nobody would have predicted that. They have to come back down to earth at some point in time. Like, they're getting goals, I guess. I don't know, but it's a goal a game. So their defense has been really good. I think Milan has what it takes to break that down. They have to beat them. I don't like, I don't have supporting stats. I don't have anything. It's just like, I look at these odds every year and I say, how does Milan not win this game? And I'll bet it. And I'll come on next week and say, hope you guys didn't listen to me. But I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't think this Milan team is very good. Again, I think they're going to be in at the end just because, again, what I said about the schedule and being one competition. So I almost never feel confident betting them, but I will say, like, you can get, so the double chance for Udinese in the draw is -110, but also both teams to score is -110. I kind of just like both teams to score. I don't know, Milan can still win. It can still be 2-1.
I agree.
I like both teams to score here.
That's kind of what else jumped out at me. Both teams to score.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. Because I don't trust Milan either. I don't know how much I trust them. I know they're coming off back-to-back wins and back-to-back clean sheets. It was Milan that beat Bologna this past weekend. That's who it was. 1-0. But look what they did against Cremonese the first match week, right? So they haven't proven that they're a great team yet. Maybe the once a week will help them with Mad Max. And
Modric looks good, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what he was going to be coming in, but so far so good.
I mean, Milan do have the best XG against in, like, so far. I mean, what is it? I think it's 1 that they've basically conceded. So, maybe this is famous last words, but I don't think that's sustainable. Like, I just don't like their defensive personnel that much to be like, this is going to be a stout. I mean, again, you're going to throw Max Allegri's name at me, and I won't argue with you, but like, I don't think this is a clean sheet week after week team, especially with, just, I don't know, looking at the center back situation there.
Yeah, and there's John. Milan fans scoring is a bit difficult for them right now. He's not loving their attack either.
That's more of an Udinese thing, though, that I feel like I don't trust them a ton either. But yeah.
Right. Well, Dick and I, we were on Udinese the first week against Hellas. They had a pretty good number. It was a Friday. We wanted to get some early action in the season, and they threw up a 1-1 dud for us. So I don't trust Udinese either.
Yeah. I think I probably have lost betting them or against them every week so far. Because they're always that, like, ancillary game it's either like Friday or like Monday. It's
so
like, I have to bet. Like, I wouldn't normally just bet an Udinese game for fun, but like, oh, okay, it's the 12 o'clock game on Monday. I don't feel like doing work. Let me, bet on this game. And always wrong.
Yeah, see how that works out for you. You should just be doing your work, I guess. Couple more. Torino hosts Atalanta. Cremonese hosts Parma. Fiorentina Como is an interesting one. Inter hosts Sassuolo, and Napoli host Pisa on Monday. So anything jump out in those last 5?
Are we ready to fade Atalanta full time yet, or do we give them the benefit of the doubt because they got, like, run off the pitch today against?
That was our favorite bet today, right? It was -1.5, and they more than covered.
I don't think that. I don't think. I mean, obviously there's like a pretty drastic step down just from going from Gasperini. I don't think they're going to be terrible this season. Like, playing PSG is a whole different beast. They're not. I mean, Como's not PSG. I think there is some bounce back potential here. I'm sorry, Torino. I think like Torino's not a terrible team. I know, like, they don't spend any money and they just kind of like get guys off the scrap heap. But they did a decent job against Roma. But I don't know. I feel like there is a decent bounce back potential here for Atalanta because, like, they still have a lot of dudes, like, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like the manager, Juric just he obviously had a pretty terrible situation at Roma, and then basically was a disaster at Southampton, and somehow gets this job, which is unbelievable. I don't know. I wouldn't feel super confident still fading them here. I still think they're going to be heard from at least in the league, not necessarily in Champions.
And they're way better. I know Steve is about to say they're way better away from home, so it could be a good spot at even money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that carries over from Gasperini to Juric, the away from home form, but they historically in the past couple of years they have been pretty good away from home. Sometimes better than in Bergamo, which is always interesting. Yeah, it's tempting to see look at a Torino draw no bet or double chance or something, but yeah, you got to be careful because you think that the talent could still win out here. But yeah, that Juric hire, like Steve said, to his point, was bizarre. I was shocked when they basically traded managers with Roma from last season. I could not understand that. Couldn't be a more polar opposite from Gasperini in terms of like style.
Maybe they know something we don't. Like they're obviously a smart club. Like you like to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like when Brighton hires somebody, you're like, all right, like I'll maybe they know something we don't. It's like back in the day when in the NBA, like when the Spurs would trade for somebody or they would trade somebody, you'd be like,
Right.
That should tell you something. So I don't know. Maybe we should trust them more than we do, but on paper, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's well put. I mean, maybe it's one of those years where they know it's a transition year for them. They probably have a couple kids in the academy we haven't heard about yet because they scout better than a lot of teams, and they just need somebody to get them through, not cost them a lot of money, and can kind of retool. Lookman's probably on his way out, right? I don't know if it's a contract year for him or not, but they'll recoup something maybe. And next year we'll see a completely different team that competes again with a new coach. I don't know.
Yeah. The last one that obviously will be maybe an entertaining match to watch is the Fiorentina-Como one, but it's hard to figure both these teams out so far. Fiorentina 2 points. Como should be on 2 wins, but they ended up blowing it to Genoa this past week where they ended up drawing 1-1. They beat Lazio, lost to Bologna 1-0. So they're kind of like all over the place too. I mean, as much as I'd like to say maybe Como draw no bet here at close to even money, I don't know if you can trust them right now either.
Nah, just stay away from me. I think too many people are like excited about Cuomo, and
Thank you.
I do love watching Nico Paz, but like I'm pump the brakes a little bit. Like they're like the cool, sexy kid on the block, and I'm just I typically do not back that team with my wallet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense here.
I feel like I'm listening to myself. I could not agree with you more. That's exactly what we said on the preview. These odds don't make sense to me. Why are Fiorentina a favorite? Other than the fact that they're at home. They have done nothing to show that they should be a favorite in any game. They haven't looked good. Even they had to scrape by in Conference League qualifying. I don't know. Like this, it's a weird set of odds for me.
They're begging you to take Cuomo here.
Absolutely. And I think Fiorentina gets something out of this. And the draw line's really low, plus 220. So to your earlier point, that's just a weird one. So be cautious. John made a good point here in the comments, man. Moise Keane has to get a goal eventually. It's plus 200. I don't think Como's defense is that good.
All right. Anything else said? Yeah, should we swing it over to Merseyside?
Yeah, good for me.
Good. All right, so let's go over to Steve's other club, Everton. In this case, they're the big time underdogs. Definitely the smaller club of the two. Roma tends to be the more popular club in Rome, but Everton, you got the underdog here, Steve. They are plus 600 at Liverpool, who's minus 215. I mean, what does Everton have to do here to beat the champs, who are, on fire? But like, Everton comes in no losses in 4, right? So not terrible form themselves.
Yeah, I mean they lost to Leeds at the start, which was like one of the worst showings they've had in a while, and that's saying a lot. And then they've really bounced back the last couple games. So I was one of those guys, like, and then maybe this is just I'm too close to the situation. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh man, Everton, like, could they push for Europe this year, like top half?" And I was like, I think they'll be safe. Like I think they're going to be fine. And I think obviously. Moyes has kind of like righted the ship and just steadied them a bit, and they actually like don't play the Sean Dyche like scared football of just basically sitting back and clearing everything and hoping you mistake your way to a goal. So like that's a plus, but I don't know. I was a little I don't know, maybe I was like a little scared as a fan to like buy into the actual hype, but I mean they look pretty good. Their problem is like again the striker situation. Like they bought Tierno Barry, who seems like one for the future, crazy athlete, like. A guy who's kind of in the U21 France setup, and like there's a lot of promise for him, but I don't know that he's ready to like lead the line for Everton yet, or at least certainly to a top half finish. So that means you're relying on your boy Beto, who I actually think is fine, but he misses a ton of chances. He missed a ton of chances last match, and like for as hard as he works and stuff, like I think he's just going to ultimately hold them back. So I think he hits post after post. Like it's like some of it's just unluck, but like at the end of the day, like if you're doing that game after game, it's really not luck. It's just kind of who you are. Right. So but the other thing too was I'm not one of those like Everton fans who hates Liverpool. Like I I don't live there, so I mean,
Right.
obviously I want to beat them and there's a rivalry, but I don't really hate them in that way. Like I always thought like Klopp was the best manager in the world. Like for my money, like I'd take him over anybody. I'd probably take him right now over anybody. And I other than him complaining about literally everything, which drove me nuts. I really respected him and what he built, and obviously going up against City for all those years. But I was kind of fading them this year a little bit, just because not because I didn't like the summer. I mean, obviously they made a ton of good buys, but it's just hard to like basically retool an entire squad on the fly and still, basically win another title. And I think they've kind of gotten a little lucky the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, they probably should have drawn at least twice.
Definitely.
Certainly last match day against Burnley, they got incredibly lucky. The Burnley penalty was terrible, but like they've kind of had to get some late wins. The Bournemouth match in the first week, I have concerns about their defense. If they get any injuries, like they basically have two good center backs. And if they lose Van Dijk, Konate, like they're kind of screwed. So, and like, Wirtz has not been great so far. Like he's not a bust, but like, it's going to be hard to sort of get him acclimated. So I thought they'd come up to a slow start. What have they done? They've won all 4 of their games to start the season, but it's a little smoke and mirrors. Like I don't fully believe that everything is like, they're not firing all cylinders. I think there are some problems. So I think Everton could give them some issues in this game, but I don't know. Like I wish. Again, I don't like that these games are early in the season, and it probably helps Everton more than it is early in the season because like there's just less at stake, and it's just like we don't really know what the teams are yet, and certainly Liverpool are trying to figure things out, but I'm not really sure what to expect in this one. Like a lot of the Everton Liverpool games have been like 0-0 draws in the past, but I don't think that'll be the case here because it's not the Sean Dyche ball, as I said earlier. Like Everton actually do play respectable soccer these days, which is nice. So maybe get both teams to score over 2.5, which is close to even money. Salah to score, he always murders Everton, so that's another one if you want to get him. I think he's somewhere in around even money for a goal scorer there. But I don't have much hope that Everton are going to get much from this match, but I think there could be some goals.
Yeah. Just to echo that, I think both teams to score was on my radar. So both teams to score over 2.5, obviously with the way Poole played defense looks really good. Everton plus 1.5 is kind of in playable range, minus 130. I mean, I don't know, that they always play Poole pretty well. And the defense, I don't have words for it. I mean, they can't stop anybody. The 3 of us could line up for Everton, and I think we'd be able to manage a goal the way Liverpool are playing right now. But
Van Dijk too. Like, I mean, I don't want to say lost a step, but like he's not the same guy. And obviously
he's getting older, man, and he plays every single game. Yep. That body is gonna break down eventually, more so than it has. But the one thing I'll say in Liverpool's defense, and everything you said, you made great points. I mean, retooling on the fly, Wirtz, Scotty, if he were on, he would be trashing Wirtz because he hasn't been happy with the signing yet.
Come on, it's been it's been 4 games though.
Come on. But listen, I agree with that 100%. And I was super high on him, but when you drop 150 mil, like you I get it. You can be a little bit critical.
It is a little awkward that Szoboszlai has just been balling out.
Yeah.
I love that dude. I love him. I love McAllister. Like again, this gets back to like I wish I hated Liverpool more than I do. I don't. I like a lot of their players.
They have an embarrassment of riches where they can just interchange just about anybody and get results.
But Szoboszlai is balling out, and like he's kind of like in the Vert spot, right? So like he probably should be playing more because he's been incredible to start the year.
Definitely. But the one thing I'll say about Liverpool that I have to really give them credit for, you mentioned they could very easily have 2 draws out of these 4 games. They didn't look particularly good in Champions League today outside of like the first 5 minutes of the game. And then I think the last 5 minutes of the game. They're turning into a great team in the sense that they're turning bad performances into great results. And, last year was on cruise control, but the fact that they can do and win in this way, even when their defense isn't playing well, even when guys aren't up to speed yet, pretty tough schedule. I think early on in the year that you beat Arsenal, they're on a great path. It's not going to be easy for Everton to come in here. And as long as they can keep grinding out 3 points, eventually they'll shore up some of their mistakes. They'll get these guys a little more acclimated, and the goals keep coming, especially other people outside of Salah, because you're going to miss him for 3 weeks to a month. I'm impressed. I think Slot's doing a great job so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how teams win titles, right? When you find ways to grind out those results that maybe you don't deserve, that's where you get those 3 points that could have been 1 or none. And then later in the season, instead of being like Roma, who loses this 1-0 to Torino and misses out on top 4 by 2 points. You're over there winning the title maybe by 2 points over City or Arsenal or something, and it could come back to one of these type of matches. But yeah, there's definitely going to be a bleeding in period, it looks like, for Wirtz and some of these guys. I mean, Isak just came in right at the end of the window. He's played like one
first game today,
before.
right?
Yeah,
It's like his first start.
so it's gonna take some time, but when they're grinding out results, if they do get things clicking, then it becomes scary for, I think, the rest of the league. It won't be easy for Everton. Go ahead, Steve.
I would say I heard an interesting discussion about the Isak thing since you brought him up. Like, because I was one of those guys that was like a little skeptical of Ekitike only because I just sort of like hate those Bundesliga strikers who miss a ton of chances in a league where there are a million chances. So like, of course, you're going to get chances and score goals. But
so every Bundesliga striker,
yeah, most Bundesliga strikers, yeah, like we saw it with Job, and it's really just like Frankfurt strikers in general that scare me. Although it's kind of turned around because Marmoush is good, and I think Ekitike is going to be good too. I'll probably take the L on that one. But like it was Jovic and who's the other guy I was missing? There's like Sebastian Haller who actually was good, but then like obviously kind of had. He moved around a couple clubs, I think he had the cancer diagnosis too. So like, who knows? He might actually be great, but I'm always kind of like wary of that kind of guy. But the interesting thing is like, he's been playing well, Ekitike, and it's like, if Isak doesn't hit the ground running, like, does he have to play? Does he have to keep playing him? Like, is Ekitike like have to go to the bench? Like, how does that work? Because they probably can't. Because I think Arsenal. I mean, I pick Arsenal to win the league. Maybe just to zag a little bit, but also because I thought they had a great summer. But like the difference this year is I think with Liverpool is like they probably should have a wire-to-wire competitor, which they didn't have last year. So I think they'll have less room for error to like play around with something like that. So I think that I'm just saying something interesting to watch that I'm kind of interested in seeing.
Definitely. But no, this Premier League money, it's like Major League Baseball money. It's like, remember, I don't know, 10 years ago, we started playing middle relievers, like 25 million a season to be a middle reliever. And it's like, well, you have to play him because look at how much he's getting paid. Like, you're not going to drop all that money on Isak. And how long is his leash, right? It's going to be a lot longer because of the money he's getting paid, I think. At least that's the way I think.
Like, I think that matters. Like, it's hard to just go into a team and just score goals. Like, I mean, I know he's super talented, but still.
Definitely.
And I think for them too, is like they got Ekitike not expecting Isak to be so readily available to them. And I think then the opportunity presented itself and they had the money from some of the sales and they're like, well, if he wants to come here, we kind of have to do it, right? You have to do. He's one of the probably top 5 strikers in Europe the last couple of seasons. And it does. It creates an interesting dilemma, whereas, Roma can't figure out a alternative to Ferguson. Here they are with 2 guys who could probably easily score 20 in the Premier League if they're playing at their top level. So yeah, definitely creates an interesting dynamic. I think to you guys' points, it's going to be tough for Everton to come here and get any kind of result against Liverpool, just because, especially being at Anfield, I think I was looking back at past results. Usually, anytime Everton's gotten any kind of result off of Liverpool, whether it's a draw or the occasional win, it's usually at home. So that makes this tough. But yeah, I do like the shout of the both teams to scoring over 2.5 though. At plus 105, I think that's a really good play because, like we said, Liverpool is conceding for the most part. I mean, they beat Burnley 1-0. That bit me because I had them at minus 1.5 last weekend, parlayed with City, and they screwed me with that late goal. I almost wish they had dropped points because when you have a bet like that and the team doesn't score for 89 minutes, you're like, just, don't even win the match because you screwed me. But yeah. But I do see Everton. I think they can get a goal here. I mean, look at Atletico, right? The talk today was like they're gonna try to pack it in. They're gonna have to play for the 0-0 or something because they've got Alvarez is hurt, and then they go get 2 goals. So, yeah.
Here's my question: Beto shot on target minus 130. Soboslai shot on target plus 120.
That's a good shout. Yeah. Because they're probably gonna have to rip from deep. I mean, that's what he's been doing that a ton recently, and his right foot is a rocket ship. So I definitely like the Szoboszlai one better. Only because again, Beto hit a post, and you're gonna be like, I can't believe I made it. The other thing too 100%. Is like this game will be 0-0 in like the 70th minute. I'm like, of course, like this is exactly how this goes. But the thing that Everton, I mean, listen, we can't look past like the Cavs FC, right? Where the Low Sox, they've got Jack Grealish, we've got Dewsbury Hall, we've got Njai. Like they got some dudes out there with just some bulging calves, and the vibes are definitely back for Everton. Like they're a fun team to watch. I mean, Grealish looks like he's having fun again, which is awesome. I was like weirdly against that when I first heard about it, I'm like, why would you bring him in on loan? Like, he's only going to be there for a year. Like, try to build something, spend that money on like a player who, you know, you can maybe build and grow and then sell off. But I got to be honest, like I love having him on the team. Like, he's just I mean, say what you want about him. He's like, seems like the nicest dude. He cares, and he's fun to watch when things are going right. And, you know, he leads the league in assists right now with 4. Like, the vibes for him are definitely back. So, you know, my biggest concern with Everton in the offseason was like, for years they've needed to address the right back situation, address the right wing situation, and they just like refused it. Now they did try to buy Kenny Tite, or at least get him on a free, and then Fulham kind of up their offer and they end up losing him. But like, I mean, it feels like we've been trying to find a Seamus Coleman replacement for like a decade now. It's like, how many years can you go without finding anyone else to play right back? And then they've got Jake O'Brien, who's a good center back, playing right back, but he's not a right back. If Njai could play on the right wing, which I didn't think he really could, then that kind of changes the equation for, I guess, that part of the pitch. But I still think they're kind of a flawed team overall, but I think that they're going to be good enough to come, you know, they'll probably finish around mid-table. So the vibes are back, you know, at least we're scoring goals again and not just trying to like luck our way to 1-0 victories.
Hey, I had them top half at the start of the year. And man, that first game I had, maybe I mushed them, dude. I bet them because I'm like, oh, they got it. I bought into the hype. I think they played better than their table standings the last 2 years. And 2 years ago it was that the 10-point deduction or whatever they had, right? So
end of last year they were great. They were great end of last year, yeah.
I certainly thought they had what it takes to beat Leeds, so that one hurt me a little bit. I
hated Leeds too. I was big seller on Leeds at the start of the season. I just didn't think that they were going to do much, and that was a tough one because that was one of Everton's worst performances I've seen in like the last 3 years.
Definitely.
Yeah, and just as you were talking about Grealish, I was looking at his lines because he has played well to open the year. I mean, some of the numbers on him for this one, I know it's going to be a little harder for him to create in a match like this where you know, they're playing a team like Liverpool, but his assist line is plus 650, goal or assist is like plus 265, I think it was, and a shot on target is plus 135 on DraftKings. Okay. So there's a lot of.
So if you're telling me the guy has 4 assists on a team that scored 5 goals, and you're giving me plus 600, the situation, the opponent, I don't care. Like, I'm betting that automatically. I'm not even thinking twice. That's unbelievable.
I think they'll have more of the ball in this game than people think too, just based on, you know, the way that they've set up and played recently, which might be a detriment to them. But I think they'll have more of the ball. I think Njai though is the better guy for the shot on target. Grealish he's more of a feeder type. I think Njai is the one that kind of rips shots for this team.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, definitely that, like Nick said, that assist line is very enticing.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah,
unreal.
I'm trying to find Njai, but it's hard. There's so many names listed. Where is he? He's at plus 115 for a shot on target as well. So
yeah, that's not bad. He takes penalties.
Numbers are,
you never know.
Yeah. All right. Let's whip around the rest of the Premier League here. So let's start, I guess. We won't go in order necessarily with this one because there's another big match on the schedule, and that's the United-Chelsea match. Let's start there. United, mess. I mean, we talked about it every week, like how long is Almiron going to last? Chelsea coming off a loss day at Bayern, so they're coming off the midweek match, travel to Germany, gets a tough opponent. Does that open things up for United, or are they just such a mess that Chelsea comes in here at plus 145 and gets the job done? What are you looking at here?
I can't bet on United.
Nope.
I refuse to. We had City big last week. They came through. I don't exactly love Chelsea because I still don't understand them 3 seasons later, but they haven't lost the game yet. So I don't know, like how on earth, it's not quite at the Lazio Roma level, but how could you back United in this game? I just don't understand it. Yeah. I think you're getting a great number on Chelsea here.
I really wanted Amorim to work because I loved watching his sporting teams so much. Like at the beginning of last year, I was, my big takeaway, I think in our pod was like, I think they're going to be like the Champions League sleeper. I think they're going to be the tough team to play. And they were that until they basically lost him. And then, Jokeris kind of was like, had one foot out the door too. I'm ready to say it's done. Like it might not happen tomorrow or after this game, but I actually think there's zero chance that it's going to work at United. And I think that's not totally his fault, but it is to some extent where like he is just not going to change. And I don't think he has the players. Even though they bought, I like the Emblemo buy. I know it wasn't a deal, quote unquote, but I like buying a proven guy, like somebody who could just like get an adult in the room to like have somebody who has a good Premier League player. And the same thing with Cunha. I hated the Sesko buy. I think he is was one of the most overrated prospects in all of Europe. He does not shoot enough for a striker. He doesn't, again, another guy in the Bundesliga who does not score enough goals. Like, if you don't score enough goals in the Bundesliga, that is a massive red flag, in my opinion. I don't care how old he is. And then you throw the United stuff in there. And like, I think that's a terrible buy, especially for the price. But overall, like, I think the midfield is trash. I've never been a Bruno guy. Obviously the goalkeeping situation is a mess. I don't see any way that this Amorim thing works out. So whether or not they sack him tomorrow or, a month from now or a year from now, like, I just, at the end of the day, like, he's not the guy for United going forward. And the other thing that's, I think a lot of United fans have said this, and people just kind of, it's not hard because you just look at their squad, but like, it's so easy to change managers because they are such a 4-2-3-1 team. Like, they have the exact personnel for it. You move Bruno back up, you play Casemiro and maybe Meno. Obviously Cunha and Mbeumo can play on the wings. You've got Šeško up top. Like, it's such an easy fix and probably wins them games in the short term that, like, I think actually moving on from him it would be, other than the money, which is probably a lot, but they don't really care, would be an easy decision. So I'm with you. I spent too many years trying to say Man United was like sneaky back, and I'm never going to say that. I'll have to see it first. And they are certainly not back now. I don't love Chelsea. I still don't understand how you spent that much money and your center backs are terrible. And your goalkeeper's terrible, but man, Caicedo is excellent. Obviously Palmer's excellent. And some, the wing, their attacking players are obviously all good. I like Delap. I was never really a Nico Jackson guy. So like, I think they're better off for not having DeBunda, who I do the pod with. He's like a big numbers guy, loves Nico Jackson. I'm like, dude, the guy misses just way too many chances for me. Like, he had a hat trick, I think last year. It was the most unimpressive hat trick I've ever seen in my life. He could have had 5 goals in the game. Like, it was ridiculous. So I don't love Chelsea. This is probably kind of a stay away because the numbers would tell you that it's an over, but it's way too juiced. So I don't want to bet the over in any of this because, again, United create a ton of chances and don't score goals. So this is kind of a stay away for me. I'll just watch and see which one burns first.
-125, coach. Draw no bet for Chelsea.
That was the one that I thought about because you don't expect United to win, but I don't know what Chelsea's going to come in after playing against Bayern, if there's any fatigue or anything early in the season. But yeah, you don't bet United. And I think, to Steve's point, like, it's tough to bet the over when it's juiced that much at -175. You're not going to go over 3, even though United bleeds goals. So, yeah,
if they lose this game, I could see a sacking. I don't know, like
next international window, month from now. Okay, I think he's gone.
Fair.
I think he's gone.
I mean,
it's so funny because it's so predictable. They had such a difficult schedule to start the season. Like, it was so easy to predict that he'd be gone. Now, obviously, we couldn't predict that. Well, maybe we should have predicted that Nuno would be gone because Forest owner is a disaster. But like, Amorim to be the first guy sacked with that schedule should not have been surprising, even though it's not going to happen.
Yeah, with Arsenal and City in the first 4, that's rough when you're in the ways that they are right now.
I mean, so what do you think saves his job? He's got Chelsea, obviously, Brentford after that away, and Sunderland at home. I mean, does 6 points keep him in his job?
I think 6 does, but I don't think they get there. They'll drop points in 2 of those games.
I think so. Crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for him to take all 3 points on the weekend, and then they probably drop a point, a couple points somewhere else, and yeah. All right, couple other intriguing ones. We got Brighton hosting Spurs. Brighton +125, Spurs +205. Coming off of a European match as well. West Ham hosting Palace on Saturday. Burnley hosting Forest. A lot of plus money odds here in these matches. Wolves hosting Leeds. I mean, what jumps out at you?
Steve, give us your thoughts on Brighton, man, because I cannot figure Brighton out. I mean, it would like Tottenham at +200 looks so appealing. Tell me why it's not going to hit. Yeah, because I can never figure Brighton out. I haven't gotten Brighton right in 2 years.
I may be blinded by this, but my favorite, like, we do like over-unders. We like draft them, right? And my number 1 pick was the Brighton over. I just thought it was too low. It was like 52.5 or something. I'm like, they're going to easily get past that. And they've obviously had like a weird start to the season. They beat City, but then they've dropped points in games they obviously shouldn't have dropped points in. I think this is like a classic like fade Tottenham spot.
Yeah.
Coming off the Champions League, like, they're on the road. Brighton needing points, kind of facing some pressure early in the season. I actually like Brighton +25 at home, +125 at home.
I mean, if you just kind of follow, I always say this, follow the odds. Like, Brighton's the play. It's right there in front of us. Yeah, books are asking you to take Tottenham, and did they have to travel? No, they were home
against Villarreal.
They hosted Villarreal.
Yeah. So Not bad, but
and I like Frank. Like I like that. Actually like the Tottenham squad, but and I think I had I forget. I think I had them 5th or 6th or something. I think they're going to be good this year, but Brighton I think are a little more desperate here, and I still like the Brighton team overall.
the one thing that's impressed me is they haven't given up any goals. And
Yeah.
I mean, like even that win against City, and you make what you want about City, right there. It's a different conversation. I mean, Tottenham bossed them around. They I don't think City had the ball in their own box, like in the opposition box the whole game. So they've really had a lot more possession than I thought. Their defenses look good and cleaned up a lot of stuff. I think Vicario's kind of settled in a little bit. Weird game.
Yeah. Another interesting one is Forest, because they're on kind of a bad run right now, but they're plus 125 at Burnley, who, I think we expected heading into the season is going to be a relegation candidate. Is this a good bounce back spot for Forest? I mean, they lost to Arsenal, obviously 3-0 last match day, but they also lost to Swansea in the League Cup. Like, are they just trending down that hard, or is this like maybe a spot where they can just kind of get right before Europe after the managerial change?
Yeah, this is Ange's first match, right? Or no, he was in the midweek. He had his first match. I forget what it was.
Was it the League Cup? Did he manage that?
Yeah,
match?
I sneaky think it's like actually a good. Like I know people are saying like the contrast of styles between Nuno and Ange is like kind of random, but I actually think this Forest team, other than maybe Milinkovic, who's like kind of just like a sit back and clear stuff center back. Like I actually think they're kind of built to have the ball and play Ange ball. So I'm excited. It's kind of a stay away from me just only because I don't know what to expect. Like you would think, it's Ange, they'll score goals, take the over, but I don't know that I feel that way. But I was higher than most on Forest. I think a lot of people expected Forest to just like completely drop back this year and be a mess. Maybe. And maybe a lot of that was, maybe that's right because they had so much of the turmoil behind the scenes, but I still think this is like a pretty good squad overall. And, if they stay healthy, I still think they're going to be fine. I just don't know. Burnley at home, desperate team against a manager in his first Premier League match with his new team. I don't know that I feel confident anyway on this. I guess I would say I would like to tentatively take the under just because I feel like that's a Zag pick.
I love that. Here's my question for you guys. Can Wolves get their first win? Or their first points, I guess, right? They have no points. They're at home hosting Leeds.
Yeah, this
can
is like
they
a real
get their first points of the season?
If they lose this game, again, it's like the 5th game of the season, but like you can't lose to Leeds at home. Like they can't. No. So if you believe in anything Wolves related, you have to back Wolves here, right?
Yeah, I mean they have to get a result of some sort. They have to. I mean, draw no bet if you want to protect against the draws, at least minus 115. But yeah, they have to get a result at home. Like you said, it's not usually you call it a relegation 6-pointer so early in the season, but
it is.
When you're playing the way they're playing, yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the other one I had, just Aston Villa, right? Another team that doesn't have a win yet. They're plus 110 at Sunderland.
I like Sunderland. I like the squad. Yeah. Enzo Lefe, he actually had like a pretty big. He played a pretty big role in them getting promoted last year, and then triggered the mandatory buy option from Roma. So everybody was kind of happy there. They are of all the teams that came up, they're kind of the team that I like the most. I thought the Xhaka signing was incredible, like for just getting him for like basically nothing, as like a guy who's just like immediately they're at least like an above average Premier League midfielder for a team that's coming up. Like I think this team, they're one of my favorite bets was for them being the only team that got promoted last year to stay up. So I actually thought Villa were going to be better too. I still believe Emery. I think he's a good manager. But something's clearly wrong there. Like they can't score.
They haven't scored a goal yet.
Yeah, they can't score. And I don't know. Like I thought like the status quo would be fine. They'd probably finish like 5th or 6th again this year. But I think who knows? It might be a disaster season for them.
Yeah, and they got to look ahead to Bologna in the midweek too. So it's like you got Europe starting up in the midweek against a pretty tough Bologna side in the Europa League. So not an easy spot for them to win, and that's why they're probably plus 110 still. The other big match, which I completely forgot was this week because it's all the way down at the end of the list, is Arsenal City.
Oh, sure.
I completely forgot as we were going through. I'm like, we got United Chelsea too as our secondary Premier League match. Here it is,
handicap on the fly here.
Yeah, to close out the weekend, Arsenal minus 110 hosting City, who's plus 280. I think a big advantage for Arsenal here is not only being at home but playing in Europe 2 days earlier than City. City's playing tomorrow against Napoli. That's a tough matchup for them.
Yeah.
That is very tough. Nick and I were talking about it during the week. Like Napoli at plus 400 is a big number on the road. Not saying they're going to win. I know DraftKings, everybody's on DraftKings, and they gave a draw breaker token this week. I saved it for that match where basically you're getting money line for a bonus bet back if they draw. Then you're hosting Arsenal, who played 2 days ago. It's a tough look for City, I think.
Hey man, I got KDB to score at plus 525. I just think that's like way too insane of a number to not take a shot.
You're gonna force feed him, yeah.
Or he takes penalties, right? At the very least, if they can get a PK, he's in. Here's the thing: City, we know, right? They've lost 2 games. Their defense hasn't looked great, but man, what a chance to just get right back into the thick of things by coming into this game and getting some sort of result. I don't know if they can, but City to score 2 goals is plus 175. Like that's something we have not seen for Manchester City in probably 7 seasons. That's just an insane number. Arsenal's,
when was the last time they were 280 on the money line?
That's another good point. And Arsenal's been great, right? The only goal they've given up was that goal against Liverpool. So I get it. But I don't know. If there was ever a time to take a little bit of a stab with City, this could be it. That being said, Arsenal probably win.
If I had to pick a side, I'd pick Arsenal. I kind of like the under 2.5 is plus 104. I think Arsenal just want to control the hell out of this game.
Yeah.
And I don't think City are that scary. I know they just scored 3 against, obviously in the derby against United, but I think that was more about United than anything else. I still don't think their attack is really right. I don't love their wingers. Like Doku, I'm still not really fully sold on. What's funny? I really thought the Reinders signing was going to be incredible, and he had the first great game against Wolves, but maybe that was just Wolves because he's had a couple of weird games since then. I still don't think they know who they fully are. I still think Pep is like kind of figuring out. The center back situation is still not awesome, I don't think. And Donnarumma, like we all like Donnarumma, but like it's still kind of a new thing. So I just think there's too many questions for City going into this match. And whereas like Arsenal, the only thing that you could fight back on that is like Arsenal. This is a classic fuck up Arsenal spot, right? Like they'll screw themselves. Like this is what they do. But all the signs to me point to Arsenal. But I think it'll be tight, KG. I think it'll be low scoring.
No, I definitely agree. Sorry, Steve. But here's the thing: if you go through 5 games, and granted, Arsenal's had a tough schedule, right? But if you go and like, wow, yeah, they're in second place or in third place, whatever, they're right in it. But still lost to Liverpool, still lost to City. Like, how can you believe in Arsenal going forward?
That would be the most Arsenal outcome over the first 5 games of the season. Like
exactly,
they look great except for the 2 games that they couldn't lose.
Yeah, I think all signs point to Arsenal here for various reasons. Like we've said, they're off to a better start. Their defense has been almost impenetrable in the Premier League. Yeah. They've got 2 days extra rest coming off a win in the Champions League, and City's doesn't have a cakewalk tomorrow by any means. They get the Italian champs, albeit at home. So I think the only thing that it could be if it's not Arsenal, it's what you guys said. It's like the classic Arsenal slip up where like they've got City right where they want them, right? And they just let him slip away. But I think you make a great point where if you don't win at least one of these 2 against Liverpool and City, it's like, how can you trust them to then win the league later on? But if they do get the 3 points here, they've already got their 2 toughest matches of the first half of the season out of the way, and maybe they can get ahead of steam and keep up with Liverpool. And I'm not going to say put City in the rear view, but definitely get a little, distance between themselves and City if City does get a little bit better later in the year. So, I also tend to, I know it seems like it should be an overmatch, but I do lean under a little bit too for what you said. I think they're going to try to control the ball. They're not going to want to give up a lot. We saw the Liverpool match we thought was an overmatch when we handicapped that one on here, and that ended up being a 1-0. So I think that's kind of where I'm leaning to. The goal scoring numbers,
crazy. Yeah. Oh, you were going to say.
I was going to say outside of Yorkis, they're pretty nice. Holland at plus 185 is a big number.
When was the last time you saw Holland be involved in a game and not be the absolute odds-on favorite to get a goal?
Yeah, I can't remember a time since he's been at City.
So that's nuts. And he's got 5 goals. It's not like he's off to a slow start. And he had like 8 goals during international break. Like, so it's not like he's struggling.
Yeah, so that's a big number. Some of the the secondary scoring type players like Martinelli, as a those kind of players are
Maleke.
in the
Maleke's
250.
been great for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And I it's funny, like I have an Arsenal buddy who was like kind of not super excited about that signing. I was like, I think this is a great signing for you guys. Like he's a guy who doesn't really need to start, but is like really talented and good. And obviously if Saka goes down, like boom, he's a good right winger. He's what, plus 250 to score, but I wonder what a shot on target like prop would be. Like I just think he's a really good player. And I think he gets into the action and like actually is pretty assertive and takes shots. So I think he's a guy to watch too.
Yeah. So then he's at plus 320 over here on DraftKings. So yeah.
Wow.
So Haaland, if you think City's going to score, Haaland at plus 185 is a really solid number for him. Like Nick said, you don't ever see that. And then some of the secondary scoring is also solid. But again, it depends how you see this match playing out. We're leaning under. You're not going to take too many goal scorer risks, but there's definitely some numbers there if you like anybody.
You could also go super weird and just go Arsenal Dark Magic center back scoring and go like Calafiore like 11-1, Gabriel 9-1.
Find it like a lot of times he's plus money just to get a shot, and like not even a shot on target. Like books haven't caught up to that yet. He gets in there, especially on set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he came up as a left back, so he was used to marauding down.
And they've played him in that position.
Yeah, and they've played him in the left.
Yeah.
So that's a good point too. I'm trying to see what he is. A shot on target from Calafiore is plus 215.
Yeah.
A shot in general is minus 425. They've caught up to shooting the ball.
Boo.
2 shots is plus 110 now, but
okay.
On target is a solid number. But yeah, he gets involved because he came up as left back. I remember one of his first matches for Roma. I think it was in the Europa League. It was a banger. He scored a banger for them.
Scored against Juve too, didn't he? He had a great goal against Juve.
Yeah.
Man, that was one of those damn Jose Mourinho. Like, how'd you let this guy get away?
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be like, he was, I don't know, he was like some world class talent, but like he was highly thought of at Roma, and then he just kind of disappeared, goes to Basel, and then all of a sudden blows up again. I got to be honest with you, that one hurts. That one hurts a lot. I don't like seeing him in an Arsenal kit, but I like him as a player.
Just some teams just don't have the patience to let these guys learn and
none of the
develop
Italian teams have any patience.
Yeah.
It's actually quite sad, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
Good weekend.
Yeah, it's a stacked weekend. The Premier League is really stacked. So it's gonna be a busy weekend. A lot of early viewing for you, Steve. Luckily, my 3-year-old has me up usually around that 6:30 time anyway. So
it does help.
Last week, the alarm clock didn't even go off by the time I was woken up for the Torino match. So it makes it a little bit easier to get up these days than back in the day when you had to set the alarm clock for him. But
yeah, that was like the last. Was it? I forget. It was the last World Cup. Yeah, when my first daughter was born. And the games started like 4 a.m. on the East Coast time, and I'm like, I'll take the feeding at 4. I'll watch, like whatever the early game was. Like, this isn't that bad, I can't complain. So definitely early riser. But
man, Steve, we got you here. I just got to ask you, give us a quick outlook, U.S. men's national team.
Oh man,
because I'm not super maybe not quick. I don't care. I'm not super high on Poch, and he's done nothing through 10 games. I don't know how many games he's been in charge to be like, okay, no, he knows what he's doing. He has a plan. And then they go out and they beat Japan, which is like something I never imagined would happen. So quick synopsis if you have
the Japan win, while necessary because the vibes were so bad, it was like their second and third team. I mean, it wasn't like Japan, it wasn't like I don't think any real starters for Japan even played, which isn't the end of the world because like we're not necessarily playing an A squad either. But I gotta be honest, I'm anyone who asks me, like, I'm incredibly pessimistic. I was not a Berhalter guy, but I thought it was ridiculous that he was like kept on to be the manager. Like, I think we had seen enough. Like, he had got them to a point where I don't think he was going to take them any further. I think when you have a chance to hire Poch, like as the United States, like you probably have to take that. But I do think there were obviously a ton of questions. I think a lot of them are coming to light of he doesn't really know the international setup. He's not really familiar with CONCACAF. He doesn't know much about MLS. There's just like a lot of things that he doesn't understand. Just like the international game alone, he just doesn't really fully understand. And to ask him to do that in like a little over a year is kind of insane. I was always like a pro Jesse Marsh guy. I think the problem with the US is like, and this goes back to even like the Berhalter thing is like, we got these players who are like, quote unquote, like, European, like big club European players. Right. And we were like, hey, let's start playing like Barcelona then. Like, we have some of these skill guys. And like the US was just like the bread and butter was being stout at the back, good goalkeeping, and just being hard as hell to play against, hard as hell to break down. You get Clint Dempsey nipping a goal here or there, and you win 1-2-0, and you're just a tough out no matter who you play. And now we're just easy to beat. Like, we're just really easy to beat. I think there's a lot of guys who, and the thing that blows my mind is, like, Tim Weah, he scores a goal against Real Madrid. Like, he's a really good
had 2
player.
or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was awesome in that match. And like those guys, there's a lot of those guys, and it's just not translating to the national team for whatever reason. So like when people say like this is an overrated generation, maybe as a collective, but like individually, like it's not. Like Pulisic is fucking awesome. Like he's awesome in a huge league. Weah, same deal. Adams, obviously at Bournemouth, is excellent. Cardoso, I mean, there's a reason he goes to Atletico Madrid. Like, Simeone's not an idiot. He know, especially midfielders, defensive midfielders. Like, if he wants you, that means you're good. But for whatever reason, it just does not translate to the United States and the national team. So, I think the issue at the Gold Cup was we just had like no wingers. We had no speed, no pace. The roster was terrible. We also had a lot of injuries. Like, I think at the end of the day, like if they're healthy, like Balogun and Pepe are probably your strikers.
Pepe's the guy. Gotta be.
See, I'm a Balogun guy, but I'm, either one is fine. Like the Ajimon thing is like, hey man, it's a nice story, but like this is, right. Again, if this is like who you're relying on, like we're doomed. So I'm pretty pessimistic, only because I mean, it's going to be so easy to get out of the group because of basically third place teams get out of the group now that like they're probably going to get out of the group. But I'd imagine they lose in the first knockout match, and then we're kind of back to square one, not really knowing what we are as a nation.
Yeah. Shit, I agree. I mean,
Sorry. Yeah.
No, I agree. I didn't know if you
that.
had anything positive to say. No, and the weird thing too, and I'm so with you about Berhalter. Obviously, bringing him back a second time made no sense, but I thought he got a unfair shake by the media. I think the whole Gio Reyna situation was just absolutely insane to me, especially for a guy who, when was the last time anybody saw him in a meaningful game, right? Like, yes, I get the promise, but
hey, he played for Gladbach, I think, the other day. So I guess that's a step in the right direction. But honestly, if you're putting a squad together, he's probably not in it.
No way. So that was absolutely insane to me. And then you got a guy like Poch who comes in, and you had the Gold Cup, and he called up the players he called up, and Pulisic is the guy that's getting all the shit because he didn't show up and this and that, whatever. Where all Poch really had to do was come out and say, hey, we know what we have in Christian. He's played a ton of games this year. We need him ready for next year. I have 30 other guys I need to evaluate. He's not going to get called up for this tournament, and that's why. And he didn't do that. Like, that's a pretty easy manager thing to come out and do.
Well, but I think because he didn't, I don't think he agreed with the decision. Like, I think,
and maybe he didn't. And I get it. Listen,
so
dude, you get called for your country, you should play. Like, I'm 100% in that camp. I know Poch thinks that way. I know, like, there's not a player on the planet that would get called for Argentina and not, show up for that call, right? But this was a situation where I like, what you're getting from Pulisic, right?
He said that he's like, I'll play in the friendlies, but I don't want to play in the Gold Cup. And honestly, I agree with Poch. Like, I'm like, okay, you're either here or you're not here. Like, I'm not like, you're not going to be a part-time friendly player.
For sure.
So I actually side with Poch. I'm not like bent out of shape over. I think Pulisic has played a ton and probably deserved some time off. Is it a bad look? Sure. Do I think it's like going to make or break the US's summer next year at the World Cup? No, but I actually do side with Poch on that. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't just like show up for the friendlies and not actually play, because like he's trying to like obviously build a culture.
It's fair. It's just so funny. Let him like get on TV with his dad and like have to fend for himself. Like, I don't know. It was a weird. Greg got treated one way and Poch is getting treated another, and Poch's results haven't been there. Like, that's really what I was trying to get at.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the thing with Greg too is like, I think the players. The thing that pissed me off about the Greg thing is, it was like, oh, the players like him. It's like, I don't care. Like, like if he won the World Cup, sure. Like, all right, great. Or like, I mean, we lost in the knockout round. Like, he didn't have a great group stage. Yeah, we made it out, but like, who cares if they like him? That to me, like, I mean, they sided with him clearly in the Gio thing. Like, the players did not like Gio, it seemed like, and that's cool because I think Gio was in the wrong, but this idea that like, hey, he's our buddy. It's like, I don't care if he's your buddy. Like, then if it worked out better, that would maybe play more, but it doesn't play more to me. And plus, I just think like Paul Carr always says this, like that the national team managers should get one cycle. Like, really, for the most part, like once you start getting into the second cycle, like things get stale. Like, you need to change it up. And the fact that they dragged their feet on that and delayed basically the preparation for the next World Cup, I think that was kind of where they lost me, at least.
Fair.
Yeah, the two cycles get dicey. I mean, we remember Marcello Lippi for Italy, right? What he did in 2010, it It does, for whatever reason.
At least they won it.
Yeah. They won it first, thankfully.
I mean, how much time did
Yeah.
Bruce Arena was in there for how many cycles? And I love Bruce.
Yeah.
I'm not here to knock
Yeah.
on him, but then eventually what happened? You miss a World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think they have to figure things out because these guys are like in their prime years now, and like to waste them on home soil is going to be disappointing to not at least make a decent run, because these guys are not world beaters, but they're really good players, right? Pulisic tore up City out last season for much of the year, and Way is good. These other guys are good, and
McKennie is awesome. We didn't mention him. I like him.
If you just put our ideal 11 on paper, it's like, oh, this is a good team. But
it's
for whatever reason,
solid
it just
national
doesn't.
team. Yeah.
It doesn't work. Like it just hasn't worked. So
Yeah. All right, Steve. Thanks again for coming on. Tell everybody where they can find your work, about your podcast you do with Paul and everything else.
Yeah, The Ringer, Ryan Russillo podcast, all the above. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, always great having you on. Great insight. Wishing you luck this weekend. Obviously, you and I are on the same side with the Rome Derby, and wouldn't be. I don't want to hurt Scott's feelings, but wouldn't it be bad to see Liverpool get upset and make things?
He's ducking me. I don't like that. He's ducking me. He's scared.
Let's win our bets because I don't have faith in Lazio, so I'll take winning on my bets.
Yeah.
All right, we'll catch everyone next week.